remember what I've read here in the past, so this one I'm pretty sure I haven't. It's fairly structured, takes a lot of imagery from something you should recognize. Oh, look, Sally, look. Look, it is something red. It is a flower. Look. Look there, Jane. It is something else red. It is another flower. Look. Look. Here is something else that is red. It is not a flower. Is it a dead deer? No, it is a dead motorcyclist. In the ditch. Oh, Sally, you have picked one of the flowers. It is dead, but it is very pretty. What lies by yonder roadside, red blood drying to black? Who lies by yonder roadside, the young knight in his leathers so black, black flies on black blood and red flowers, and the red flowers stain all the ditches? Who lies by yonder roadside, red blood marking his track, the great stag brought down in his tracks? Who cries by yonder roadside? Bloody tears leaving their tracks, bloody hands holding dead lovers. Who cries by yonder roadside? Love is a notion, and death is a fact. The blood-stained flowers pool in the ditches, but it is very pretty. The red light flashes, staining white bone, black oil and black earth, the dead eye flat as ashes, blood on the flower, blood on the stone, the red flame in the grasses, the blackened, burnt-out grasses, the young girl crying, hands holding bloody hands. The lover is left alone. Love and life are flying. Love, there is no returning. They'll sing this song in the burning lands. It's an old, old song with not much new to say, but it is very pretty. The rising harvest moon, red Mars rising, the setting sun, the lover's head a bloody rune, black smoke curtains part, an old tale still surprising, old words to a new tune, sobs descending to a wordless croon, shadows stretching towards the night, the dead man's bloody face obscured in smoke and shadow, blackened grasses and red flowers obscured in smoke and shadow, little lines of flame run along the edges of the ditch. The young girl's face is contorted, twisted in mortal anguish, but it is very pretty. Look, Sally, red above the fields, the harvest moon. Look, Sally, look at the shadows stretching over the fields. Look, I see your eyes, Sally, your face is in the shadows. Look in my eyes, Sally, the risen moon, white as a bone, red blood black in the shadows. Oh, Jane, I cannot look. Oh, Janey, take this flower. Oh, Sally, I dare not. The bloody flower is too immediate for memory. I am sore hurt, although I do not bleed. The flower cuts like shattered glass, but it is very pretty. In the past, every so often I performed under the alias of Mr. Sunshine, and I think you can see why. Okay, this one has actually got nothing to do with the time of year. It's an August poem. It's called A Certain Funky Charm. A gray slab of sky to the north and east. The sun's breaking through the west-southwest. Cottonwood lint in a limpid stream flowing between the boulevard trees. The summer air is thick as syrup. I'm sitting on my front porch looking across the street through the gap in the Caraganas where my new neighbor decided that the lot was worth more empty than the cost of renovation. I rather liked that place the way it was. It had a certain funky charm. Though as they aged, it got away from them. They kept up the house and cared for the yard as best they could, but things slowly fell apart. Then, when he died, she had to give it up. Days like today, the world feels arrested at a stationary point. Life circling slowly round, the ants scuttling randomly till they cut scent, taste the pheromones, and head back towards the nest. My thoughts loop and meander out and back again, forever following old trails, getting distracted. Oh, look, a butterfly. The shadows are stretching as the sun sets and the slow breezes ebb. I rather like myself the way I am, but then there's not a lot of choice. I admit I have my faults, but I've always had a certain funky charm, though that is sadly transitory. I'm all too aware that things will begin to fade and fall apart more quickly than I'd like, that the most ordered life can go quickly to the bad. I've read where an anthill is like a human brain. Each ant a single cell and all the pathways neurons. It makes a useful image, though I'm sure it's incorrect in detail and in whole. Still, there's the chance wrong information will send things badly sideways. What's brought will prove corrupt. The neural circuits clogged or broken. I fret with each small memory lapse, each loss of concentration, the external trauma or internal failure, the storm or the wasp infiltrating the nest or the winter's frost. Use whatever metaphor you wish for time and chance. Leave me with my garden run to weeds. Things I did, torn down, forgotten. This place a vacant lot. Time and decay triumphant. I get a grip, man. It's still late summer. The breeze is blowing. It's evening, and the butterfly has sat down by my hand. Thank you.
Just because I'm a crooked tree does not mean I can't bear fruit. Just because I'm tipping doesn't mean I don't give shade. A stained t-shirt is no less warm. Broken cupboards are no less full. The cookies still get made. The crazy crowns still walk in the parade. I think that was clowns. So don't dismiss my words. Don't forget what I wrote or how I made you feel. That was real. It was more than smiles and hugs. Smart is the new sexy. Strong is the new pretty. Because even the greatest leaders once wore diapers, and I changed them when no one else would. It didn't injure my pride. Remember, it is I, the mother, who builds empires, who builds armies, who ends plagues, who writes libraries and fills universities. It is I, the mother, who will drop out of school, who will die in childbirth, who will drown while holding you up, who will save your life and die of loneliness. Because now that you're adults, you don't remember. Rest in peace, mother. You appreciate my smile. You appreciate my hugs, my famous recipes, the works of my progeny, but not my own, not even my maiden last name. In a world of misogyny, a victim of the second citizen game, you remember when you outgrew me. A proud moment of independence when the travel games in the car stopped entertaining you, when my clothing choices embarrassed you, when you didn't need help anymore because you weren't helpless like before, and you pretend you never were. But remember, every hero once wore diapers. Every president once fell on their face, and I picked them up. I made the cookies that lightened your sorrows to give you tomorrows. Because that's what it takes to make a hero. That's what it takes to make a president. And just because I'm crooked doesn't mean I don't bear fruit. Just because I'm tipping doesn't mean I don't give shade. A stained t-shirt is no less warm. The cookies still get made. The crazy clown still walks in the parade. So don't dismiss my words. Don't forget what I wrote and how I made you feel, because that was real.
When I wrote this poem, I was really very surprised at what I'd written. And I looked at it and I said, I can't write this. I can't end it like this. But I couldn't not end it like this, because this poem brought up something from my shadow, from my subconscious, that I didn't know I was feeling. So, warning, this is a downer. It's a real downer. It's called On Reading the Obituary of an Old Friend. And so it comes down to this: a name in the obits, just one of many on any given day, beloved wife of, mother of, special friend of, and a number designating your age. There might be a funeral or not, and then everything you were is gone, except, with any luck, in the memories of a few, perhaps in their tears as well, in the written words of your obit, and in the mess you've left behind, your one-time treasures now a burden for someone else to bear. Is this all there is to life, to having lived on earth? To what end the pain we all endure? My husband said that was the most depressing poem he'd ever heard. So. And this one's a little better, but not a lot. It's called Over the Hill. I recently read that once you're over the hill, you pick up speed. True, if you're tobogganing or cycling on a summer's eve, but this was on a birthday card, intended, I think, to amuse. But I, for one, am not amused by time's acceleration, by how inexorably the passing days fly by faster, faster, ever faster. I must admit to feeling some regrets at all the opportunities ignored, unclaimed, and I feel fear as well, for none of us can truly know where and when, and certainly not how, this downhill race will end. And then, just in time, I think, to get me out of that funk, I read a poem by Rosemary Wautola Trummer called Here Now, in which she suggested that every moment, every incident, everything, every breath can be a new starting place. So this is called Starting Place. There's a well-known adage born in ancient times, cherished by multi-generations, spoken in many tongues. A maxim meant as counsel, words of comfort when times are tough. You know it well. It says, this too shall pass. Speaking of impermanence, these words of wisdom point to patience, endurance, and hope. But a modern poet portrays perhaps a better way, a different lens through which to see the trials we all inevitably face. Undoubtedly, this time, this wound, this will pass, for nothing in a life can stay the same. But instead of passively waiting, hoping for better times to maybe come along, why not seize the day and say, this too is a starting place, an opportunity for something new, for future to be now. And so grows agency, the ability to not just suffer and endure, both of which are givens in this life, but to take an active role in shaping how it all will come to pass. For example, this poem is such a starting place, a tiny portal of potential opening to be explored in adverse times. At times, the shock, the pain, the grief can be too much for us to bear, numbing us, precluding conscious thought. And so we need a fallow time before the feeling, knowing, naming, accepting what is real. Only then can we begin to see that every moment, every action, every thought, and every word can be an opportunity for a way to start anew. Thank you.
Okay, so with February being the month of Valentine's Day, it's the month of love. I love love, so I have some poems that I pulled about love. They're all kind of about different kinds of love, and there are 3 of them here. So first one is called Act of Rebellion. Would you get a little bit smaller? Maybe just take up a little bit less space. Could you do just a little bit taller? You know what? Just change your entire face. And could you undo all those things you did when you didn't really know any better? And could you just be a little less altogether? And society conditions us to put conditions on our own self-love, and it grooms self-loathing, looking down on from above. And they'll give you a million reasons not to like yourself, and let's not even touch on love. When push comes to shove, they'll say, you can finally love yourself, just get a little bit smaller. And you can finally love yourself, but just if you were a little bit taller. And you can love yourself, but don't take up too much space and don't be too loud. And you can love yourself, but don't be too proud. And loving yourself is the ultimate act of rebellion. And I'll tell you right now, I'm ready to be a hellion. Okay. All right, let's do this smushy, cute one, and then we'll do the other one about online dating. All right, so, yeah. All right, so this one's called A Kind of Love. I want a kind of love that feels like Sunday morning sunshine on your face, warm, radiating, and full embrace. And I want a kind of love that's dancing in the kitchen, hand-holding, neck-kissing, bodies together with friction. And I want a kind of love that's like fresh fallen rain, love with open spaces where you can hold each other's pain. And I want a kind of love that's soft and it's sweet, and it's looking across a room when your gazes meet. And I want a kind of love that's like that first sip of coffee, and I want a kind of love that's fun, like singing carpool karaoke. A love that yearns, but it's never forced, and that's feeling like finding your way out of a dark forest. And I want a kind of love, tracing freckles like constellations, closeness, heat, and good vibrations. And I want a kind of love that's steady like a rock and flows like a river, and every time we kiss, my knees, they quiver. And I want a kind of love where I lose my concept of time, the paradox of fast and slow, feeling like the stars are aligned. And I want a kind of love that goes beyond surface, so that when we're old and gray, those feelings, they never fade away. All right, so this one's called Modern Romance. So if you online date, this may be a relatable one for you. I wrote this one before I met my partner, which ironically I met on an online dating app. But we don't have to talk about that. All right, so consigned to a life of love 'em and leave 'ems, a few good months, and then you're in your pillow screaming. And they say it's better to have loved and lost, but why do I always end up dead? And does one take a lover, or is it easier just to stay alone in bed? And we swipe right and we swipe left, looking for warm. We swipe right and then we swipe left, looking for warm bodies, sometimes for one night. And don't dig too deep, or you'll unearth my bones, and you'll get dirt underneath your fingernails, and we still have that awkward drive home. And I'm a bit more to handle than a picture on a screen. I'm a real flesh and blood woman. I cry, I laugh, I scream. And more than an object to admire on Instagram. And I'm wholly convinced it's my generation's dating scam. Oop. Help me. Thank you. And we're all desperately clawing to be close to each other. And you say you can't love me because you were never loved by your mother. And we can only love to which the degree we love ourselves. But that feels impossible to love 37.2 trillion cells. And I don't think it was always like this. And honestly, I think the internet ruined it all. No eyes gazing across the sock hop or the dance hall. And no falling in love the way our grandparents did, just disposable kisses, love going to the highest bid. And I'm not made for this modern romance, this disconnected technology dance. So I'm deleting Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge, and Netflix instead I will binge. And I'll just be waiting around here, waiting for Prince Charming to appear. Thank you.
Okay, well, we will keep going a bit in the theme of love here. This one is a little bit, if a lot of you will know our friend Sylvia, she inspires me sometimes, but I'm not as brave as her. But here we go. This one, I called it Alchemy. Of course I still miss you. Who wouldn't miss being adored, worshipped, especially when new lips taste my skin, only seeing what they can take and not give. You gave and gave, letting me receive with ease, in no hurry to finish taking your pleasure. New hands seem to be always in a hurry to find their pleasure. Pleasure is time, lust is lightning, and once you understand how to alchemize the two, you cannot settle for feverish lips on skin, culminating as a lone lightning strike. And then this one here, it's actually like when Jill said when she writes a poem and it surprised her at the end, and I had an idea in mind when I started writing this one, and it came out completely different, but I still really liked it. I just can't tell the person that it was about them because it's not anymore. You laid your empty hands on my chest, singing sweetly to me, to let you in, to lay bare all my armor so you could see beneath my sin. I'm going to start that again. I messed up like 2 words already. You laid your empty hands on my chest, sweetly singing to me, to let you in, to lay bare all my armor so you could see beneath my sin. Understanding flashing in your eyes, truth echoing in their depth, soft as a whisper on my skin. Your fingers slipped under, probing through the layers I'd wrapped round and round, deeper, deeper, gently encircling my most precious organ. I could not say when I became an extension of you, connected by the scarlet thread, connected by the whispering touch, with hands on hearts, squeezing softly in rhythm with every breath we took, around and around, wrapping me up in you. When did the iron nails slide from your fingertips, piercing, severing the ties from deep within, your soul leaving my skin as you turn to walk away with hands no longer empty, but now my chest is.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, these poems are about, both about poetry. So the first is a song, or was written as a song, and it's about, in my younger years, I've been writing for as far back as I can remember, and before we had cell phones and we could always just reach out for something to record, I would, on my long drives home out in the country, I'd have to pull over on the side of the road if I had an idea and write it on a piece of Post-it note or a gum wrapper I found, or like anything I could find in my car. Or sometimes I'd come home and my mom knew and she was going to talk to me. I'd be like, just a minute, I gotta write this down. And I'd put all these papers in a shoebox. And I have a few of them at home that I still have there. Just little snippets of songs and poems. So this is called Concepts of Limerick, and it's about those shoeboxes that I treasure. It goes like this, and it's a song, but I'm gonna read it. Valakur pages, pieces of poems, my life through its stages on pieces of paper and Post-it notes. Still live in a shoebox, there may be a few concepts of Limerick never seen all the way through. Insight into 20 years ago me. I peer through the looking glass and details are bright, trigger so many memories. With pieces of paper, these details excite, light up lost phases riddled with both obscurity and foresight. Forgotten pages, slowly gathering the clues, treasured thoughts of yesterday that came from a past you. Before the time when a telephone is always in arm's reach, when writing materials were often scarce, I'd implement other techniques. When the best lines would strike my mind, creativity align, shift a perspective or concept that was tuned to my chime. Insight into 20 years ago me. I peer through the looking glass and details are bright, trigger so many memories. Valacre pages, pieces of poems, my life through its stages on pieces of paper and post-it notes. Still live in a shoebox, there may be a few. Concepts of limerick never seen all the way through. All the way through, all the way through. Thank you. Makes me want to go through that shoebox again. And then this is, I've read this one before, but I love this poem. This was a prompt at Poetry Night about what poetry means to me, or what poetry means to all of us. And this is called Poetry. Poetry for me has always been a release, a way to heal and deal with the most heartbreaking moments, or a way to articulate deep realizations. A channeled, oh, sorry, one more time. I'm going to restart that too. Here we go. Oopsie daisies. Poetry. Poetry for me has always been a release, a way to heal and deal with the most heartbreaking moments, or a way to articulate deep realizations, a channel to express wonder and awe, or a place to fixate your mind when the whole world starts spinning faster. A focal point for wisdom and knowledge, the grand takeaway sketched out in letters displayed, to convey a deep emotion, a revealed truth, or a jestful outlook. A slanted, alternate angle that somehow soothes my soul with every read. Again, I keep tripping up on my words on this one. I want to get it right so you can put it on Rogers. I don't want to, okay, I'm trying it one more time. This is my last poem, so here we go. Poetry for me has always been a release, a way to heal and deal with the most heartbreaking moments, or a way to articulate deep realizations, a channel to express wonder and awe, or a place to fixate your mind when the whole world starts spinning faster, a focal point for wisdom and knowledge, the grand takeaway sketched out in letters displayed, to convey a deep emotion, a revealed truth, or a jestful outlook. A slanted alternate angle that somehow soothes my soul with every read when I'm proud of my message and my thoughts don't dabble on the way it shall be received. Composed from that oh so crucial purity, sincerity. I have the power to take darkness and somehow transform the black, soak it out into stanza, pour the pain or the pleasure out on the pages and truly understand my perspective. Painting that picture, cultivating your mind, thoughts stream out and cadence aligns. The message, the rhymes, and the flow work in synchrony. This ability to give openness, coping mechanisms, and cognition the master key. That's what poetry means to me. Third try's a charm. Thank you.
Frustration. I tried my best to get some folks out of jail. My efforts went to no avail. The lure of big money and lots of babes caused more problems than is worth to Abe. What can I do but write a poem and let them all take me home?
I have 2 new poems that I've written this month. So this is the, I don't know what they call it, the Virgin Run or something for them. Anyway, you know how it is in wintertime or any time when things are going well and then all of a sudden you get like a wave of depression and nothing looks good? Well, if you listen to self-help reports, it makes it sound like all you have to do is have the right attitude, think the right thoughts, you know. And then it's like it's your fault then if you don't get better. I was noticing that in my own life. I wanted to write a little bit about that. It's called Why Now and Not Then? Why is it that some years I cannot see beauty and in other years I can? It's not like I fell in love and suddenly everything is wonderful. The winter days are still dreary. February is still not even close to spring. Wars are still waging, and the homeless are still cold and looking for their next fix. But this year, I see how the trees have sucked in their color to sleep until it's warm again. And when warm again, they will rise. And the burrowing mammals, mice and badger, and who knows what else, and the bears in the mountains, sleeping, hibernating, gestating their cubs as they sleep. I see promises of life to come. It's not over. Color will come again. Animals will birth a next generation, and even humans surprise me with our resilience. Thank you. But why can I see this beauty now, this year, when for so many winters all I saw was desolation? It's not for lack of trying. I tried to be grateful, hopeful, joyful, but there just wasn't anything there. I don't know why now and not then. February is still cold. I don't know why I can see the beauty all around now. I don't know. But thank you for this today. May it last, may it spread, and may it never disappear again. Thank you. And then this next poem I wrote in honor of Stacy and Carrie Oler, who are the ones who have been so generous in sponsoring our poetry nights here. But they've, yes, but they've actually really helped me out a lot. Stacy basically designed my entire website, using my words and my pictures, but she put it all together beautifully. I don't know how to do that. And her husband, who's really a computer genius, he helped Stacy out every time she didn't know what to do. And so this couple has spent hours helping me become who I am here in the online world. Anyway, so this is the poem in honor of them, and they haven't heard it yet, so it would be really cool if they heard it first on TV. It's called Chosen Kin, Creating Kingdoms of Care. One more explanation. You know how in biblical stuff there's the kingdom of God is among you, or the kingdom of this, and God's kingdom and all of that? Well, even using words for the big G like Lord and King, well, that doesn't work in a post-colonialist society. But if you just take the G out, and then you have kingdom, I can kind of cope with that. So again, here I go at it. Chosen kin, creating kingdoms of care. We haven't been buddies since birth, haven't made memories in childhood or teens. So many stories we haven't yet shared, so much that we do not know. Yet we don't have to know all the details to help each other out, to care, to choose each other by offering listening ear, making possible the other's way of life now. Scaffold of ordinary life, we stumble along life's paths. We circle around the inchoate hope that love is at our center, that love is possible, and that we can somehow be a part of it. Sharing struggles and ideas and joys and hopes, we are creating a kingdom of love with our imperfect selves, and it is good. I wouldn't be who I am without you. You, my friends, are my chosen kin. Living alongside each other, we create the kingdom of care as we muddle along in our ordinary lives. Thank you, my friends. Thank you. We are together, friends, chosen kin, creating kingdoms of care. Thank you.
In tribute to one of my oldest friends who lives in Hungary, where I grew up. And every time we speak on the phone, or the last one was a video call, she keeps telling me that she wants to see me before she dies. Neil has been bugging me for years to go and visit with her, but unfortunately, the finances were not there for it. But this year, when I last spoke with her, I decided that I'm going to do a GoFundMe to raise money so I can go and see her. She is one of the most amazing women, and even at 93, she's still an activist out on the street, helping people to set up coats for people who need, like we have the Coats for Kids campaign here. Well, in Hungary, they put coats out for everybody who needs it. And she was getting her pictures taken there with a bunch of nurses and whoever set the program up. So that kind of gives you an idea of what kind of a person she is. Anyway, the poem, Her Hands. Her hands are old and frail, with thinning skin that bruise and break open easily. But they always worked hard and did whatever was required of them. They cooked many sumptuous meals, baked bread, cookies, and cakes, washed dirty clothes for the family, planted flowers, trees, and veggies. They cleaned toilets, bathrooms, and floors. They held her children and grandchildren, caressed people when they were upset. They held the hand that needed to be held and consoled the lonely ones who were all alone. They arranged beautiful flowers, knitted warm clothes for the winter, wrote and typed letters and love notes. They built hopes, visions, and dreams. They touched her hands and touched her heart. They built hopes, visions, and dreams. They touched your hands and touched your heart. And once you held them, you never want to let them go. So hold them tight now that they are old and frail. Keep them warm when they are cold. Give them the long, loving care they deserve, and hold them, hold them, hold them until she is ready to go.
Going out back into the dating world and just the world of going out and meeting people after so long, and I'm so shocked that the same problems still exist. It's devastating. This poem's called Drug of Choice. Fully conscious is how I like my sex. I don't suppose you have some of that in your jacket pocket, sir. I'm fairly sure you can sneak it into the club, mix it with a late night drink. Nothing like a lover with a pulse. One who looks at you longingly with both eyes in the same direction. Tasteless, odorless, won't change a thing except freedom of choice. Fully conscious is how I like my sex. Okay, I also have one called Her Hands. It's a poem for my mom. Constantly moving, the hands. Square palms, strong fingers, plucking strings on hollow wood, a wooden spoon, peanut brittle, a needle through the pale rectangle nail. Cutting on lines, wiping the blood away, patting the back that's turned, sketching moments, painting landscapes, still life, the hands, always the hands. Okay, I'll try this one. I haven't read this yet. Okay.
Yeah, okay, so all of a sudden spending a lot of time alone in my life and like I'm talking to myself like crazy, like there's nothing to worry about, but I have a great imagination. It's been a lot of fun. This one's called I'm Talking to Tom. I'm talking to Tom. I ramble on in studio lights while I'm doing my hair, makeup, dress, telling him lies. Made up stories where I'm the hero, the jester, the dom. I tell him how I'm on top, an all-seeing, all-knowing, mere, humble goddess. Tom, you know I can't tell the truth. You're the madness and the lightning storm, the monster whom I have created. A borrowed face, shoulders, hands, a name that feels good in my mouth, and whatever else I choose. Visceral and grotesque, a Cronenberg masterpiece. So I lie to you. I lie and I laugh and I pity anyone who's not us. And you worship me, Tom, your legendary master, beautiful boss bitch I am, and you, my forever protagonist. Honestly, I'd tell you the truth, but I just can't. You won't like it. And these days, I live for the critic. I can't tell you that today life was a bore, or that I forgot joy. I can't tell you that my skin is dry and my pubic hair needs trimming. She doesn't sacrifice herself. So, Tim, Tom, Tony, Chuck, I won't tell you tragedy, the story I couldn't make up, the raw, comical, horrifying, and instant cult classic. Low budget, slow return. So instead, I play Michael Bay. Quick, unstable footage. I center the shot on something on fire, an isolation decoy, flash in the pan, box office delight. Here, I come to you in incubation. A girl in the matrix, cradled in the goo. That's what these lies do. The blue pill. Not here, not real. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Talking to Tom.
All right. Yes, this is my first time at Owl Poetry. I've been meaning to come here for a while. Well, thank you. I feel very welcome. People have been very nice, and it's wonderful poems all around. I've really enjoyed sitting here quietly with Jolene. I was having the kind of night I didn't want to really do a lot of talking tonight. I was looking forward to listening. And I really enjoyed everybody who got up here. And thank you very much, everybody who got up here before. So, I'm going to do two poems for you, a shorter one and a longer one. The first one, a shorter one, was written when I do as I often do and get drunk and stoned and read science. It's soothing. But, so this comes from that, and it's called Entropy. Let's see if I can remember how this starts here. As long as I remember how it starts, we're good. There we go. From the end of a cigarette to the bottom of my lungs, I almost wish that we'd never met. Wished we'd never loosed our tongues. And at the end, I look behind me to the start with new eyes. Waiting for the words to find me, find their way from truth to lies. Running from a perfect circle to a world irrational. Bow before entropy. Almost there. From the top of a bottle, making way through every vein. I almost want to open throttle and leave this dark world in the rain. And at the start, I looked in darkness and saw nothing in front of me. I put one foot in front regardless, made my way from I to we. running from a perfect circle to a world irrational. Bow before entropy. When I was a kid, we had a couple times a cowboy poet, I can't think of his name now, who came to the school where I was, sorry, came to my school when I was a kid. And I always loved cowboy poetry. I love that sort of sound. And so this is a murder ballad I wrote. It's called The Ballad of Franklin D. Scruff. Let me do the hand. I don't know what to do with my hands when I usually have a guitar, so it's like, there we go. That's what I need. There we go. Yes. There we go. No, I think the beer in the hand helps. This is also just as natural, almost as natural as a guitar in my hands. All right. So. Well, let me tell you a little story about Franklin D. Scruff. Times were pretty hard. Life was rough. He threw it all away for a shot at some shiny stuff. Say a prayer for Franklin D. Scruff. Are you still alone? Can you feel all the scars you've sown inside me? Tell me, will you wait and see all the things you said I'd be? Well, Frankie's mama didn't like him as much as she did his older brother. She'd often quote the Bible, said, "Let us love one to another." But though she prayed and though he cried, nothing ever was enough. She had no love for Franklin D. Scruff. Well, he got kicked around, he got pushed around, he got kicked in the teeth. It taught him to lie, it taught him to cheat, learning all the worst ways to survive. But even Frankie would have to admit, long after dark when he was ready to quit, he was just doggone tired of being alive. Well, sometimes he'd walk by the jewelry store late at night instead of pacing the floor. He'd stand there for hours just staring inside at the pretty jewels that reminded him of all the things denied to him. And sometimes when no one was looking, Frankie cried. Well, maybe for mischief or maybe for fun, but Frankie went and got himself a gun. He'd stand there, pistol in hand, hour upon hour. He didn't know yet what to do with it. All he knew was how he felt with it. Holding that revolver gave him a feeling of power. Well, here we go, sorry. Well, he walked right down to that jewelry store. He made up his mind, he kicked open the door. He pointed his gun right in that poor clerk's face. He said, "Give me the loot," said, "Give me the stuff. No time to be a hero, don't try to be tough. If you don't do what I say, I start shooting up the place." Frankie never used a revolver before. It came from the street, he didn't buy it in the store. So no one had taken the time just to explain how a hair trigger in shaky hands could so quickly change your plans, and just what a speeding bullet will do to a man's brain. Are you still alone? Can't you see all the scars you've sown inside me? Tell me, will you wait and see all the things you said I'd be? Well, they hauled him away, they locked him up, they appointed a lawyer, took him to the judge, and they gave him his 5 minutes to explain. He looked that judge right in the eye. He opened his mouth and told his last lie. He said, "I meant to kill that clerk and I'd do it again." Frankie never knew just why he said it. All he knew was he didn't regret it. And soon he was staring down the barrels waiting for release. Without a tear or a single sob, on his way to hell via firing squad. For the first time he could remember, Frankie felt at peace. Well, let me tell you a little story about Franklin D. Scruff. Times were pretty hard. Life was rough. He threw it all away for a shot at some shiny stuff. So say a prayer for Franklin D. Scruff.
I wrote this one a few months back, and it's kind of short, but yeah. It's called We Are Only Children. We are only children who have fallen off the raft of childhood and are lost in the sea of adulthood. We are only children clinging to the surface of the water, being beaten by the waves of maturity. We are only children who wish to laugh, who want to play, but we are told that to be childish is to be bad. We are only children who grew up far too fast. We are only children. The next one is called We Are the Children, and it's about a few of my friends and how I kind of imagine they feel. We are the children lost in the sea of adulthood who have been trying to drown ourselves in the deep blue sea of 18 plus. We are the children who have been craving the waves of narcotics the waters of growing up have to offer. We are the children who have already begun to face these waves, and like the surfers on their boards, we dive into them eagerly. We are the children who are ready to swim but haven't received our fins yet, and so we know we will drown. We are the children who curse the raft of childhood to which we are bound. We are the children. My last one's called I Am a Poet. I am a poet, actually. I am a writer, an artist, and everything like that. I'm not human, though. I'm just a poet who feels too little sometimes, or perhaps who feels nothing most of the time. My feelings build up inside me like a teacup under a drippy tap. Slowly but surely, the water overflows and begins to drip down onto my desk, into my notebook. I clean each drop as quick as I can, but it's already stained my pages. Still, I organize the drops that have fallen from my mind. And now I present this notebook and all of its stains as though it is my mind, and say, just as I have said before, it's all madness thrown on a page, because all poets go mad as they age. I'll say it again, as I've said it before, all poets go mad as they age.
Yes, they do. This is a story about a young man whose judgment was clouded by ambition, and it ultimately led to his downfall. This is the tale of young Yagelhad. Yagelhad of Asgathod. Young Yag of Big A Kithad, also known as Jod, once walked into a fisherman with a rod. Rod, not Jod, and not Asgathod, said, "Hey, I wish I had that bod. All I do is go on walks." Big young Yog said, "Believe, young Rod, believe, if not in God, that one day you can rule Asgathod." As Yog strode along the shore, catching cod, young Rod, eyeing young Yog, went along and thought, God, do I ever want to rule Asgathod? And with that, off he jogged. It wasn't long until Rogelhad met Master Bob, who said, that to rule as Cathod, one had to be skilled in the art of fraud. Jod said to Bob, "Fraud? That's rather odd. Everybody has a job. If all we do is reap and rob, then how will we appease the mob?" "Corn," said Bob, "on the cob. Biannual 2-for-1 cob festivals at the vegetable shop, and you'll have the mob nodding off to all your laws." "Nah," said Jod, "if the mob falls for a vegetable called cob, biannual or not, then help me God, I will not rule as Cathod." "Snob," said Bob, "stop knocking the cob or I'll make your noggin throb." Yogglehod did not. So, instead of having a dialogue, Bob kabobbed young Yog with a long rod, causing his mom to sob. So Yogglehod never did rule as Cathod. He never even had a shot. They buried him off the starboard bow of his father's yacht, and when his coffin dropped into the river of cod, everybody stopped and prayed. Yogglehod, oh Yogglehod, citizen of Asgathod, son of your dad and mom, may your soul be never robbed of peace for all of time, however long, and be thou never taken into hell, like your mythological dog, Sir Cristobal Claude, whose fur was like a soggy mop when it rained on the yacht and he was on top. I remember we were driving along on the Autobahn, singing a classical Asgathodian song, when the doggy Claude gave a colossal yawn and said our taste in music was decidedly wrong. We never did love Claude. Anyway, though, Yogglehod, I know that we have rambled on primarily about your dog, even though it's you that's gone, but we want you to know that we will always be fond of you. We will remember you on the shining dawn, at every crow of every cock, with every ring of every last digital alarm clock. Yog, not Jod, I love you like a rock. Amen.